welcome to the Moon Baby Magic Podcast, a space for women and women's stories. For the woman just beginning to believe she can actually heal her painful period naturally. For the one in a full-on love affair with aligning her entire life with her cycle. And for every woman in between. This is a platform to remember the wisdom that lives in our wombs so that we may actualize the lives of our dreams. I'm your host, Natalie Elliott, women's health practitioner specializing in traditional Chinese medicine-based hormonal healing. Ready for slow and sacred storytelling and to learn a little something? Let's dive in. Hey women, welcome back. I am sitting here with a matcha, an iced raw milk matcha, and coming to you from day 16 of my cycle in my ovulatory window, and really excited to bring you this episode today. I have Stacy on the podcast today, who I was connected with via mutual friends. She is a pelvic floor physio, and you'll hear in the episode, I didn't know Stacy really at all before recording this, but you'll hear in the episode how mind blown I start to be by her work, because in so many ways it parallels mine in the sense that both of us are practitioners who look at the body as an entire system rather than separate pieces, which is actually more rare than you might imagine even in the natural world. So I'm really excited to bring you this episode today for that reason, and Stacy drops such deep wisdom in here. And one of the themes that particularly feels really relevant right now, that little sip of matcha that we got into, was what healing unlocks for you. So a sweet thread of familiarity that came up in Stacy's story that is similar to mine is having autoimmune tendencies in a time in your life when you are meant to be like really expressing your fullest energetic potential and showing up for life fully. And if you've been here for some time, you've heard me speak to this concept for a while of that healing your period pain, healing your hormonal imbalance, healing your PMS mood swings, these things that other people have normalized, actually isn't really about healing the thing at all, but it's about what that unlocks for you. And I want to tell you a little story, and then we're going to get into Stacy's amazing stories. I had the opportunity to, and this is still kind of fresh, so bear with me as I share it, as I'm still working through it. But I know someone probably needs to hear this. I got invited to attend a women's gathering for essentially free. The ticket was going to be free. I just have to get myself there. It's in Canada. It's called Earth Daughters. And it's actually a festival I've always wanted to attend. And when someone invited me for free, initially I was very excited. And as I sat with it more, I started feeling less excited. And what happened was there was this decision I had to make. Was I going to go to this women's festival that's all about womb healing and feminine energy and all of these things that I have dove into so deeply in my life for 5 or 6 years now? And there is also, and this is this coming weekend if you're listening to this podcast, the day it comes out, a Latin dance festival happening locally to me. Ticket wasn't free, but it's local. And the more I sat with this decision, the more it felt like less of a decision about one thing or another and more of a decision about who am I in this phase of my life. And I had to really take a good moment to sit with that. And it took me quite a few days to come to the conclusion that actually I wanted to go to the Latin dance festival. And I was going actually to choose that over a women's gathering that I've always wanted to go to. And the reason I'm bringing up this story today, other than to just share a little bit of my internal processing and world with you, is that I have been in these female healing spaces for so long, and they continue to be deeply impactful. But after some time, I have learned that I'm ready to move on to a new phase of life. And I sort of coined this little phrase that's like, healed so hard, I unlocked the next level, which is called having fun. And it's been a really unique experience for me to recognize that I would like to show up in the women's spaces more as a facilitator rather than a receiver in this phase of my life. And I would like to receive more of something new, like Latin dance, that's just lighting me up and bringing me joy. And that's not to say I'll never attend a women's festival again. I love them. They're magical and they're also so fun. But it was, yeah, quite a deep experience for me to acknowledge that I'm changing and to be okay with that and to let myself move in the direction of, I've talked about this before on the podcast, joy. To let myself move in the direction of what brings me joy and not always be so focused on personal growth and healing. And to me, that is what this journey brings you, because the ultimate goal isn't healing until you're perfect. The ultimate goal isn't, to just keep going forever. The ultimate goal is to get things to a point where you can actually let go a little bit and just really enjoy your life and have time and space to even know what that means to you. So if any of that resonates, keep listening. You're going to hear a lot in the episode. And if you do need specific support on something that you're moving through, you can always find relevant links in the show notes to work one-on-one with me, to purchase Menstrual Cycle Mastery, to get the thyroid root healing protocol, and many more depending on what your particular needs are. So I hope you enjoy this episode. I hope you get the support you need. And if something lands, if you really like something you hear from me or Stacy, check us out, message us, let us know. We love to hear that kind of thing. All right, let's dive into it. All right, woohoo! Hey, Stacy, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's so great to have you. It's so great when my friends can make cool connections for me to have new women in my world. And I'm so excited to get into your stories and also hear a little bit about your work in the world. So I think the first thing I'd really love for us to do is for you to introduce yourself a little bit. And maybe just share like where in the world you are, what you do. And I also love to hear where you're at in your cycle because as I was sharing with you before we hit record, it just gives us such beautiful context to our conversation of what energy we're both coming in with.
Totally, totally. So my name is Stacy. I currently live in Los Angeles and I'm originally from Chicago, so Midwesterner at heart. Um, Cycle time, I'm currently in my luteal phase. I just started.
Mm.
So curious to hear where you're at too. And yeah, definitely felt the shift the last couple days. And my background is physical therapy, and now I'm transitioning my practice to work primarily with women who have pelvic floor stuff going on. So any
Mm.
kind of like leakage, incontinence, pain with sex, swelling, definitely any kind of pelvic concerns. And I still see like other people who have, the other types of things going on, like, maybe knees injury or hips. But I find I just get so much fulfillment from working with women. So kind of in the process of transitioning to mostly doing that. And I just really love it so much. So I'm excited to share about it more on the podcast.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. It's such an important part of women's health. I see a lot of clients online, and I often do end up needing to refer some of them to people, to someone like you, in person for that type of care because, yeah, the like structural stuff feels really big sometimes with people's issues. So I'm excited to get into some more of that and also hear like, the different stories in your life that led to that. I actually feel like luteal is a really good time to be on a podcast. People
Yeah,
might
tell me
disagree with
more. I'm
me.
curious.
I'm in follicular and I'm like very much leading up to ovulation. I'm on day 12 today, so I'm feeling like
Oh,
very
okay.
bright and sunshiny. Um, but luteal, I feel like specifically for this podcast, because like it's very story based. And so I find that luteal is this kind of moody, deep time where, I sometimes even miss it in follicular. I was thinking about that this morning on my morning walk. I was like, man, I'm just so in doing mode right now. It's like
Yes.
productivity forward. And sometimes I miss the depth of like feeling that comes in luteal and menstrual. And so that's why I think
Yes.
that's actually a really good time to share like your stories and get deep into them on a podcast in that time.
Well, I did feel like even when you sent me some of the prompts to just think about what we could be talking about, like I did really feel that I entered a deeper state of reflection. And I don't know if I would have felt all of the emotions of the different parts of my story that I was thinking about. But I think just being in luteal phase, it just allowed me to feel a little bit more of my feels around
Yes.
stuff. So I think this is good. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, and you were saying before we hit record that at first you weren't sure if your like first bleed was meaningful on your path to your work, and then that did come to you later when you're reflecting, which I love. And
Totally.
so, yeah, I'm very curious to get into that. Like, can you tell me
Yeah.
about your first period? What do you remember?
Yeah. So I was in seventh grade and I just remember, I remember that morning, like just feeling really kind of like agitated actually and like hot. Like my body
Mm.
just felt like really warm. And then I ended up, I think around lunchtime. I remember the day so specifically, but I remember going to the bathroom and with my one of my close friends at the time. And I was like, oh my God, like what is this thing? Like and I actually remember like it looking back on it, like I don't think I felt consciously that like I had shame, but I kind of felt like, ew, this is gross. Like
Yeah.
that was kind of the energy. Like I was like, oh God, now like I have to like clean this up. Like this is crazy. But then I also remember like once I did get my bleed, feeling so much better physically. Like I was like, oh thank God. Like I don't know what was going on with me that morning. I was just like really feeling like uncomfortable in my body.
Mm.
So I was about 12 and I think after reflecting on it, I think I realized that it was always sort of irregular, like throughout middle
Mm.
school. And I had a very significant health challenge that came up when I was probably like at the end of eighth grade going into high school.
Mm.
I got very sick and I
Mm.
actually lost my bleed. And I
Wow.
remember, I don't think I got it for at least 2 years
Oh
at
my
that time
God.
when I was really sick. And I think looking back on the story and how it sort of shaped me was that I think I went from being like, oh, this like dreading the period. Oh God, like here we go again. I have to like wear a pad. And
Whoa.
then when I didn't get my bleed for so long and my body was shutting down in so many ways, I actually I missed it because I actually knew that it was something I knew at an I think conscious and also subconscious level that it was a vital sign for me that
Yeah.
had gone away. And I
Mm.
think that shaped me. And then when it finally did come back, it was like, I think I actually appreciated it more. And even though I think I've had different period related symptoms like cramps and different stuff, like I still feel every month that there's like this little bit of gratitude because
Mm.
when you don't have something that's so important to the health of the woman, it's like, and then when you get it back, it really is a gift and it's a sign of our vitality in a lot of ways. So that was sort of
Mm.
my reflection, and I just appreciate,
Wow.
yeah, you're sending me that prompt because it did
Uh,
make me think a lot harder about the bleed, and it's such an important part of who I am in my story.
wow. That's so interesting. How long were you bleeding before you lost your bleed? Can you give me that?
I think I was like maybe 2 years, but it
Okay.
was
So you had
never
gotten
like
like,
regular, even when
right.
I think I had it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did have it. And then I think around the time I entered high school, I we didn't really know what was going on. I was just became like very,
Mm.
very tired and I really
Wow.
wasn't I got less and less functional and very bad brain fog and like super anxious and had all this pain. And I went from like so many doctors to try to figure it out. And I lost my bleed, I think, around that time. And then
Wow.
it came to find out that I actually had Lyme disease,
Oh my
which at
gosh.
the time was really hard to diagnose in Chicago because it's something that's actually common in Chicago, but I went to summer camp in Wisconsin in the woods. So
Oh,
that's where we think I had it, but I never really saw like the rash or anything.
oh,
So we kind of, I think around the time probably I lost my period, I think my body was just shutting, like my hormones like had tested and I was like, my levels were all over because we were just trying to figure out like what's going on. Like this normal 14-year-old, 15-year-old girl
yeah.
just can't participate in life anymore. And that's so scary to not know, for so long, like what was happening.
Wow, it's so similar to my story actually. So I
No
was
way.
diagnosed with Hashimoto's when I was about that age, like eighth grade, the thyroid autoimmune condition,
Oh,
and the same symptoms. Like when you described that, like this 14-year-old wasn't able to show up for life, like that's how I describe that part of my life is I
wow.
couldn't be a kid. Like I was just like too tired to do the things that teenagers do, you know?
Totally.
Yeah,
And
it's a
it's such
tough
an
one.
important part of our develop, like that age is such an important part of our development.
Yeah.
And I think for so long, I remember like middle school being like, I would daydream about like how I felt in middle school. And everything was just so great.
Wow.
And then just going into high school, just having that shutdown and not knowing, when you're still a kid at that age,
Yeah.
you're like, wait, I was fine just a
You're like,
little
what
bit while
happened?
ago. Like what happened to me?
Yeah.
So it's
So,
amazing that you have a similar story.
yeah, I was talking about that a lot because I just did this whole thyroid class. Um, and yeah, that was a big thing I was reflecting on is like just not feeling like a normal kid. So I really feel you on that, and that's a really unique experience, and it's interesting that we share it. I'm
Totally.
curious, like when you were missing your period, when did it sort of click for you that you wanted it back? How did that happen?
That's a good question. So I had some practitioners I was working with, and
Mhm.
I think one of them had said, I think one of them actually had said to me, "Oh, like we need to like work on getting your cycle back." I don't think I actually really thought about it until this woman I was working with who really cared for me, and I cared for her a lot. She's actually still in my life.
Mm,
But she mentioned, "Hey, this is really important for us to work on getting this back."
mm,
And I actually started taking like these, I don't even, they were just some supplements. Like I would do like some topical hormonal stuff like
mm,
creams and then like some like oral estrogen powder and I think through taking that there was something that clicked in my brain like oh this woman who's important to me who cares about me and is a part of my healing team
wow.
thinks that I need to get my period back and has helped me get these supplement regimen in order to do so. And then I think at some point it clicked, oh, this thing that we're trying to get back is like kind of important. And I was
Yeah.
lucky because I think I had her supporting me at the time. I didn't go the route of birth control, but I know that like at some point, I think maybe that was oh, just go back on the pill. But I actually never did. And I got it back through like creams and estrogen. I mean, it took a long time, but I did get it back
Yeah.
naturally. Not
Wow.
naturally, obviously, there was some
Yeah.
help, but like it wasn't pharmaceutical.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was going to be my next question is like, what do you think helped bring your cycle back? But it sounds like you had someone to really walk you through that process. And that is so I talk about this all the time. Like, as a practitioner, I'm kind of biased, and I'm sure you are too. But like,
Yes.
having someone who can support you when you're not feeling the energetic capacity to support yourself and give you a plan to follow and like help you move through the next steps, like that is so important when you're dealing with something that's confusing and overwhelming in your health.
Yeah, and we were never really, I think, also like a holistic household. But I
Mm.
think because she's actually my one of my mentors now, Suzanne,
Oh, wow.
was she's a PT, but was definitely more on the holistic and looked at the whole picture. I think because I was exposed to her and I ended up kind of like going down more of that route of finding more answers with the holistic medicine route. And I think that also shaped me a lot because I saw that maybe there was a little bit more limitations on the Western end of what I felt like they could do for me in order. I think,
Mm.
it was like take an antibiotic and go on birth control. Like those were the options that I think I was really presented with from Western.
Yeah.
So I think going the Eastern route also like shaped like I think the next trajectory of my life, seeing more results with that type of treatment too.
Wow. Yeah, and I just want to say, I say this almost every episode, but just in case, because maybe people who know you are listening and they haven't heard this before, birth control is a band-aid solution for a hormone imbalance because it's just kind of feeding your body a non-natural form of estrogen, likely. And so it doesn't actually bring your period back. It gives you a withdrawal bleed. And so it's really important what you did, that you allowed yourself to heal from the roots. And yeah, because who knows, birth control like might have made things worse. You never know.
Totally. Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And so then when you got your period back, like 2 years later, what was that like for you?
You know what? I know this is funny to say, but I don't remember at all. And I think part of it was like I remember that at some point I got it back, but I think I was still not physically vital yet. And
Mm.
so I think I don't remember the specific moment, but I
Yeah.
know that like it was what I do remember is that it felt like a shift forward, like a step forward in the right direction. I couldn't like tell
Mm.
you the day or what I was doing like I could with my first bleed, but I
Yeah.
do remember how I felt and it was like this relief, like that something I was
Mm.
doing was finally working to help
Mm.
my body function just like a little bit better.
That's so important to name because I feel like I'm talking to clients about that all the time. Like if we're working on something really big, it's like, it can be overwhelming. It's like, oh my gosh, like how am I still not pregnant? Or why is my period still painful? And then it's like, okay, but look at what has improved. Like your gut health is better. Like your energy levels are stable throughout the day. You don't have that premenstrual headache anymore. And that feels like similar for your trajectory of recognizing like, okay, like of course, probably you were still tired. You still had brain fog. Like you still didn't feel that energetic capacity to show up for life in the way you wanted to. But you got your period back. And that's actually like a huge vital sign. And so I'm sure that does sort of give you the motivation. It did give you the motivation to keep going.
Totally, totally. Yeah, I really felt that I was in the right trajectory in my
Mm.
health at that time, heading
Wow.
in the right direction for sure.
Yeah. And how long did it take for things to sort of fully resolve?
Um, so I would say there were definitely pieces. Um, I think I became much more functional probably around the time I started college.
Mm,
I think I was functional, but I was still struggling with fatigue. Like I think that maybe that just became sort of my new normal.
right.
And then probably around 2018, so I think I was 22 at the time. I met my second mentor and
Mm,
Melissa. She actually she called me. I was in school in Boston and she said, I met this doctor. You have to come in for a treatment. He does this stuff and he touches your head and moves things around in your cranial lymph system. And I was like, yeah, I've seen everybody. Like I've done it all, like
like
whatever.
I've done it all.
And then, but then she's very persuasive and I love that about her. And I ended up going to Chicago and I did sessions with this doctor and it was like the first time I actually felt like the second shift in my health where like I was out of like the acute can't function at all, but I was still below, I think, the baseline that was probably healthy for me. And then
Mm,
after I started those treatments with this doctor who did all this manual type treatment on me, I started to notice certain things had shifted. And then since then, like I've seen my mentor Melissa for treatments too, and felt like not napping every day, like periods generally pretty regular. Like I I'm cooking most, have the energy to actually like grocery shop and cook all my
Wow.
own food. I'm not like doing takeout because I'm too tired. You know, like those like
Oh my gosh,
almost,
it's
like
so
little
relatable.
shifts. It's like you get to that level and then you're like, wait, but I can do a little more and a little more
Yeah.
because you start to get your vitals back. So I think, obviously I'm a work in progress, but I definitely
Yeah,
feel like
same.
the last probably like 3 years, I've hit like this even better stride of health where like I can genuinely take care of myself. Where like
Wow.
before I was like functional, but not functional enough to like do a lot of the self-care things that I needed to like maintain my health. So I think there's not like a set like date, I guess,
Yeah.
but the fact that I can work in my job and like support clients, like I just feel so grateful because like there was a time when I just wanted to make it till noon because I knew I wouldn't be able to stay awake till noon and I had to take a nap. Like that was the level. And so I feel grateful to be where I'm at now.
I'm just
Yeah.
like so, yeah, so sort of in shock about like, yeah,
The similarities.
the similarities, the relatability. Yeah, I've spoken a lot to like, I just remember getting home. For me, it was usually like an afternoon energy dip, and that like is such a mild way to put it because it was like 2, 3 o'clock. I was just like done. And I remember like I would even just try to do house chores, like fold my laundry, and it was just like impossible to feel like I could like do the laundry and do the dishes and just like maintain the things that a normal human does day to day felt like impossible. And I think the way that you're describing it, like so many people are probably going to feel seen in that because if you
Yeah,
don't get, it's sort of like that autoimmune thing. Like if you don't get it, you don't get the depth of it. But if you've been there, you know that it truly impacts your ability to really just feel like a regular human being. And that's really deep, like mentally, emotionally, spiritually too. And so
totally.
yeah, I
Yeah,
love hearing
chills.
you say like, yeah, I love hearing you say like, oh my gosh, I can even like, I can cook meals for myself and like show up for my clients. It's like, yeah, that's actually a big freaking deal.
Yeah, it's like I never thought I would be like not just like do like little things that I appreciate like I don't know like I've been carrying my jugs of water like up the stairs like that I just have and not just that but I could like do things after like it doesn't tank me for
Yeah.
days if I like work out or exercise and like I'm able to really function at like such a different yeah, it's just a different baseline level. And I just like want
Mm,
people to know, like especially for my patients too, like I feel like it's really important for them to know that like it can get better because especially a
yeah.
lot of women, they just feel like gaslit. They're just told like to drink more coffee if they're tired or
Oh
like
my God.
take birth control, if their period is if they're cramping and it's like, wait, let's first of all let's listen to the person and believe that there's actually something wrong and then like
Mm,
let's actually work with them to find solutions that can actually help them. Yeah,
that's so meaningful. And yeah, I mean, I think you sharing your own story for healing is like such an important aspect that you can bring into your work with your clients to show them that like even though it might take time, like healing the root cause of something actually is possible.
totally, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like for a long time I think I resented like how much suffering I think I went through. I was just like this is not fair.
I know.
But I also feel like I genuinely like I don't know, obviously, for sure, but I can't say that I would be the person that would say to my clients, "Hey, I believe you." Because you sometimes it's hard to believe something if you like genuinely haven't walked in that
Yeah.
path. And like because I think I've gone through the depths of my health journey, when someone comes in and they tell me something, even if it sounds like super crazy or out there or whatever, I believe them,
Yeah.
because like why would somebody choose to have that afternoon crash and then to be completely unable to do anything the rest of the day? Like who would want to live life that way if there was a different way to live? And so I am actually more and more every year, I think I feel more and more grateful for the journey, even though it's definitely, I'm sure you can relate, like rough
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. Well, you're embodied in the path and that speaks volumes and the work that you do and like makes you such and like a more valuable practitioner. And yeah, I guess I kind of want to switch gears a little bit. And you were
Yeah.
speaking about a mentor, your
Yes.
second mentor before. So like when did your like work in this world, your sole purpose, like however you want
Yeah.
to describe it, when did that drop in for you?
So, that's such a good question, and I love this story. So, in 2018, I had another health challenge come up, which I think was related to like just the general autoimmune stuff. But I
Yeah.
had a flare up of an autoimmune condition called ulcerative colitis, which is
Oh yeah.
genetic in my family.
Wow.
And so I was actually in physical therapy school at the time. And I chose to leave and I left for about 10 months. And I came back, like I left probably in November, came back the following fall, and I moved home with my family in Chicago.
Mm,
And during that time, I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this work because I could see like that physical therapy was really great and there were definitely some limitations. And I think what
mm,
I knew it helped me in my own care through my health journey that maybe physical therapy wasn't able to fully address. So I had this sort of thing going on where I wasn't
mm.
sure if I wanted to continue. And I moved home with my parents, and I was driving one day and I saw this woman and she was walking this super cute Goldendoodle puppy. And I rolled down the window and I said, "Oh my gosh, can I watch your dog? Like, I'm obsessed with your dog." And then I was her actually dog sitter first. And then we became friends. And she actually asked me, if I wanted payment or if I wanted to do some sessions with her. And I didn't, I I wasn't living at home, so I was fortunate that I was able to take the sessions and not the
Yeah.
payment. And I just thought, she was my neighbor. I lived across from her my whole life, but I never really talked to her. And the first
Yeah.
time I saw her, she had all this stuff. She had a power plate, she had a red light machine. I'd never seen that. It was 2018. This is like old school. Like I was like, what is that thing? She had neurofeedback. I mean, she was doing all this stuff. And
Whoa.
I spent like most of that year just with her. I ended up interning with her. We became friends, and she's been just such a huge part of my health story. And I remember her
Oh.
saying to me, she's like, go, but you're on your way in physical therapy school. Like you have a long way to go, but you're already in, like you already started. Go back, study, get the degree, and then you could do whatever you want with like the world is your
Mm,
oyster. And I think just having that cheerleader in my corner was really instrumental. And that's actually how I ended up in LA because they moved here and then I moved at the some similar time too. So that's sort of the story of it all started with a golden doodle basically, and then worked from there. But you never know. You should always talk to the person walking the really cute dog because you never know where it's going to take you. But it was one of those kismet moments where like you just can't make it up. It was just and I just and the fact that she had gotten that dog that year that I was home, like she didn't, I mean, it was just I wouldn't have probably had a reason to connect, but
yeah.
animals do that to you. So
They are. I'm like looking at my dog laying on the ground next to me right now. I'm like, oh, they're so
I know.
special.
I know. My dog's in my bedroom, but like I'm like missing him.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I love that story. I think the way that we meet people in our lives is so important. I was actually just talking to a friend on the phone about this the other day. And the story doesn't matter that much, but just that like he was meeting someone and was like, I'm not sure why, but I feel called to do this thing with this person. I'm like, yeah, you literally never know where these connections are going to
Yeah,
lead. And so like you should always follow those threads. And it's cool. It
totally.
like feels like this deeper part of yourself that had the intuition there. And you were like, I don't know, something's here.
Yeah, and it's like I think you never really know where it can lead. I think because of that experience, it gave me a better trust muscle of knowing that sometimes
Mm,
when we feel like really bad things are happening to us, like leaving school was such a difficult decision and
yeah.
moving back across the country, but then I like my life is like so much better for that experience because
Mm.
I had met Melissa and her family, and I've gotten to know them. And I was just with her last night. So
Oh.
we were playing cards. So like it's just, you just don't know where life can take you, and I appreciate it a lot more now.
Wow, yeah, because before you were in physical therapy school, but when you left, you gave yourself an opportunity, like what it feels like to me, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but what it feels like to me is you left and you gave yourself an opportunity to come back with more of your uniqueness and like more of your like flavor to the work because you were able to bring your own healing process and your own sort of idea of what you wanted to do with this work into that.
Totally, totally. Yeah, like I knew I had seen things during my internship with Melissa that were just like outside of the
Mm.
normal scope of like traditional PT
Yeah.
that like expanded my horizons, that I knew the direction generally that I wanted to take myself when I
Mm.
did graduate. And I wouldn't have, yeah, had that exposure and opened the horizons even more than I already had during the years that I was getting treatment for the health struggles I was going through too.
Yeah. So was it sort of your own, like your treatments with her that led you to want to bring that to others?
Yeah, yeah. I started doing treatments with her, and um, along the time, she's such a learner. Like she started in the fitness world. She's in the
Wow.
world, National Fitness Hall of Fame, and then and then she just had so many iterations, and now she does mostly um, work with like cranial, lymphatic, and
Mm.
reflex integration with kids.
Cool.
And so I started with her when she was doing more of the lymph stuff and the body movement and kind of like learning about my body, my posture, and the way I was holding myself. And we started doing lymphatic and cranial treatment, and I could feel like things deep in my body that were not regulated
Mm.
suddenly starting to shift. Like I felt that all of a sudden I could stand straighter and I just wasn't like
Mm.
hunched over all the time, or I was able to digest my food and I brain fog was clearing up and I could feel these changes somatically, that the work was changing things on such a deep level physiologically and making these connections that I just hadn't had before. And then I was like, okay, this shit is, excuse my language. I don't know if I can swear here, but
Yeah.
I was like, this stuff is so cool. Like I have to bring this to my patients because this is the stuff that's creating so many connections for myself and my body
Mm.
that is really, in my view, getting to the root of what's going on physically from a hands-on touch perspective. Obviously, there's like, different things we can do, lifestyle and all sorts of
Mhm.
different things, but from a perspective of my profession as a physical therapist, being able to treat people in this way that honors the whole body and how things are connected and to each other, it's just so much more meaningful, and people genuinely just get better faster because of that
Mm.
approach that she so graciously showed me was possible. So I'm very
Wow.
grateful.
So, do you feel like the field of physical therapy doesn't have a whole body approach in general, and you kind of have to bring that to it?
Um, I honestly, I am really grateful for my background. I will say that sometimes it can be, and I don't want to speak to like everything in general, but like I'll
Yeah.
give you an example of like if someone maybe comes with a wrist injury, we're not trained to look at. Maybe we'll check the shoulder, because the shoulder is
Mm.
connected to the wrist, but what happens, if someone um like has a congested lymphatic system, they have autoimmune, so their body's struggling already with inflammation,
Mm.
and maybe there's lymphatics in this area that are not draining, or they had a surgery in their armpit, so their arm is not draining the lymph properly and they're getting this pain in their wrist. So that's where like I think my work with Melissa and studying these different things has helped me think through problems where it's not just come in and do these wrist exercises. Like let's look at how the whole system could be supporting and if there might be certain blocks that are limiting it. But I will say, as the PT, one more thing is that like we learn so much about like the medical side and like the red flags and when to treat
Mm,
someone, when to not to treat someone. And like that is something that I take with me every single day because like the safety of my patients is so important and that's like ingrained to me like when knowing when you treat and when you refer
mm,
and what's safe and not safe and I'm super grateful for that training
yeah.
that's given me that comfort to know what I can do with people.
Stacy, you're kind of a badass. You're
Oh
like
my God.
like the holistic physical therapist. I'm kind of, yeah, just like mind blown because,
Thank you.
yeah, like I think about this in my field a lot too. And we're in, I think, quite adjacent fields with women,
Yeah,
but I think about it a lot in terms of like, even if someone goes to a functional medicine doctor, like that they can sort of sometimes look at a root cause, but often people come to me after seeing someone like that, or definitely after seeing like an OBGYN where it's like, take this pill or even take these supplements for this thing. But you're not looking at like, for me, like as someone has a painful period, not everyone necessarily is looking at like, hey, what's going on with your gut? And like what? And so I really love to hear how that's manifesting in other people's fields of expertise too, because to be honest, I never would have thought about this with physical therapy. But when you were saying that
totally.
thing about like, oh, if they have this wrist pain and like what's going on with their inflammation and, autoimmune tendencies, I'm like, oh my God, heck yeah. Like we need
Totally.
that.
Totally. And I think how my part of how my interest, I guess, started with like more of like women's health was that
Yeah.
I really wanted to study about the lymphatic system. I felt that that was a huge
Mm,
turning point in my health. So I took like all these courses and I loved it. And I was treating, people who had like just the regular injuries, knees and hips and back and stuff. But I was noticing like I was treating like I was opening up all the major lymph areas and I including their gut and they would have less swelling like in their abdomen. Like they would get off the table and I'm here treating their knee, but I wanted to work the lymphatics in the abdomen to make sure that they had a proper drainage pathway. And they would get
mm.
off the table and say, my knee feels better, but also like it looks like I like lost weight. Like what did you do? And I started to realize, oh, like this is actually the like this is like we're draining pelvic lymph nodes. This is really important, not especially
Whoa.
for women, because a lot of women just don't have that support and they don't realize that that's important. And it's another way to target the lymphatic system to help support the overall vitality of the body.
I love that because something I think about as a practitioner too that I learned from my mentor, her name's Kristen Hauser. One of the things I've learned from her is like sometimes as a practitioner, you have to not only see what the person thinks they're coming to you for, but like what else you see after you're like working with them. And it feels like that's what you're doing. You're being like, I know you're coming to me for this thing, but like I'm also going to help you with this because that's my responsibility as a care provider. Yeah, and I'm curious to hear a little more about some of the like women's health things that come up in your practice that like you think this is a good fit for.
Yeah, yeah. I would say different things that I hear frequently sometimes, I would say. Um, I had a baby a couple years ago and I've just leaked ever since. Or
Mm,
when I sneeze, I always leak. Um,
mm,
but I just thought it was normal, like that kind of
right.
stuff. And sometimes people might have pain in their pelvis or low back, and a lot of times limiting their ability to be intimate, which is a
Wow.
huge piece.
Yeah.
Um, and then, they don't get the care that they need, and then they avoid intimacy, then it gets worse, then it's just a cycle.
Hmm.
And I would also say I do see a lot of the painful periods too.
Yeah, I bet.
And I love talking to people who do work like you do because I know like I can't always do it all. Like, like nobody can do everything. And
Yeah.
the hormonal, the lifestyle, the nutrition stuff is so important. Like I could do all the lymph and cranial and all this stuff in the world. But if the person's still maybe eating fast food every day and their body's reacting
Mm.
to the seed oil, like that's out of my wheelhouse. But maybe I would say, hey, like this is something that we need to look at because the person's lymphatic system might keep getting congested. And that congestion I see a lot of times is really, really affecting like the health of the pelvic organs,
Mm.
and they sit really close. So a lot of what I see is also like fascial connections between these organs that for whatever reason are not in like a maybe ideal position. And I
Mm.
can just come in there, obviously, if the person's body is wanting that, and just help facilitate maybe a better positioning of those organs. And then
Wow.
a lot of times the body just can start to regulate itself also. And I really
Yeah.
appreciate seeing those changes in people.
Wow. That's interesting about the organ positioning. Which organs are involved in that?
So I always, if someone comes in with like any kind of pelvic symptom, whether it's like incontinence, pain, um, I will check usually bladder mobility. I'll check uterus. I'll actually sometimes check like the broad ligament of the uterus, like that comes out on either side, like the certain
Yeah.
ligaments of the area. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I like generally always go to. If I'm doing internal work
I was
also.
gonna ask if you did that. Yeah.
So I find actually like I get a lot from external and I
Yeah.
will do internal, but I usually will start with checking if there's any fascial pulls or lymphatic congestion in the pelvis. And a lot of
Mm.
times people will actually get symptom relief even with just that and not doing
Wow.
the internal work. And then if they need the internal work, we can do that, but it's a nice way to ease into it. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's like the first meeting, it can be nice to just work our way up to it and see if there's benefit we can get without doing something a little bit, with doing something less invasive on the first go.
Yeah, totally. I bet. I mean, that is a deep thing. I've had internal work done before, and I feel like I'm someone who's like pretty comfortable with my body, but it still is like definitely brings up a lot. Do you find that I'm just so curious about that. Like, do you find that you have to hold a lot of emotional space for that, or what's that like when you do internal work with people?
I think it depends. I think there are times when it can be evocative of that. And I think I
Yeah.
just always um like have like a maybe mental preparation of like, oh, this is really sacred territory and
Mm.
I'm kind of ready for it if it happens. And
Yeah.
something one of my teachers, Tammy Kent,
Oh, yeah.
she's one of I took her holistic pelvic care certification. I
Amazing.
just love her. And she
Yeah.
always says, she says something before the treatment, may all it's a quote from another practitioner, but it's something along the lines of may all that is released be received. And she just kind of
Mm.
talks about herself, and she teaches her students to ground into their own energy. Like if I feel like I'm coming up into my head, I try to find my grounding cord. I feel into
Mm.
like my own roots and I imagine those roots going down to the earth. And I know that like I can find those branches in myself to hold myself down so that I
Yeah.
can be, a better anchor for whoever's on the table if they need that. And I
Wow.
appreciate her teachings a lot.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it feels like what you're doing is just bridging so many different modalities and things together. And I love that because to me, that's what I think is required to be a women's care provider. Because as women, like our wombs are pretty, how do I want to say this? Inextricably connected to our emotions and our heart. And like that, I think, yeah, I've talked about this with my mentor and also like colleagues and stuff a lot that so much of care for women is fragmented. Like women will be. I remember one time I was in a craniosacral session and she started like kind of getting into emotional stuff with me as we were getting into my body. And so I opened up about some emotions that were arising. And she said to me, well, that's something you'll have to discuss with a therapist. And I remember when she said that, like immediate shutdown in my body, because
Oh,
it was like that
oh,
space isn't
pain.
there. I
Yeah.
like dissociated. And I think we need practitioners like you who like are willing to sort of, yeah, break the mold of this like segmentation of women's health and like actually be able to hold space for the various things that arise because they are going to arise. I had a client the other day to be like, I know you're not my therapist. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not your therapist, but like I'm here for you. Like you don't have to like not bring up the emotional things in our sessions. Like that would be crazy talk. We're not like
Not
robots.
we're not ahead like cut off.
Yeah.
Like, and I think you really like the more I get into this work, I realize we're it's it's all connected. Like trauma can be released through talking, or we can get to the tissue and
Yeah.
feel where the body maybe has held on and the mind maybe wasn't even aware that it was holding on in that
Um,
area. And
yeah.
I think the more that we can just accept that that we're connected, like
Mhm.
we're one body, like our life will just be so much easier, It's just,
Yeah.
but step by step.
Yeah. So what does your practice look like right now? Like what are most of the things you're seeing? Like how are you supporting people? What's lighting you up in that right now? I'd love to hear a little more about that.
That's a good question. So I am well, transitioning right now into doing more women's health. So I'm still seeing some
Hmm.
people who are coming in with different injuries and
Yeah.
throughout their body. And then the women that I'm seeing are getting help with usually incontinence
Yeah.
or pain or some form of both.
Yeah.
Some postmenopausal too that I'm
Oh,
seeing
wow.
also, which I also really enjoy as
That's
well.
cool.
I haven't personally taken the courses for like pregnancy, so I'm not treating
Mm.
right now people who are pregnant, but I love like the postpartum journey. I
So
think that's really,
important.
really great and really important.
Yeah.
And I'm just learning honestly every day. Like seriously, like I swear, like and I'm sure you got this too, where
Yeah.
every single person that I see is such an opportunity to bridge connections and learn because every
Mhm.
body, every client, every patient is so different. And I'm like on
Mhm.
the phone almost daily with my mentor being like, hey, like this person, they might have this thing going on. Like I'm treating it this way. Like what do you think? What do you think about
Yeah.
this? And I love to learn. It keeps my mind and my brain so active. So that's
Mm.
the day to day and trying to build more. And the next step is the admin and just getting my website turned over because it actually doesn't talk about pelvic at all.
Yeah.
So I've been doing it since probably last fall, but I
Wow.
step by step, we're getting, thankfully, Anthony has been so helpful. And I have an email course.
His email thing, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
I
for
have
people listening, Anthony is our friend who connected us.
yeah, he has just helped me
Shout
so
out to
much.
Anthony.
So yeah, if you want to go to, he is so funny. He always says uh, like anyone with the like your marketing should just be anyone with the pelvis. Just be Stacy. I'm like, okay, that's like a little broad. Like I'm trying to focus also more with women, but thank you for the support. Because anyone with the pelvis. So it's
Oh
pretty
gosh.
easy marketing, if you just go with the philosophy.
I love that. Yeah, I mean it is always interesting. It's an interesting topic around yeah, like being sort of in the healing profession and being a women's care practitioner, but then also navigating the business aspect of it of like, yeah, I have to actually put myself out there so that I can have a bigger impact and more women can find me. And it's cool because from what I've heard from you, like I can see that you're really clear on like the direction you're going and like how you can support people. And I mean, there's so like I can't tell you how many women I know who like especially the postpartum thing, like could use that support with not only incontinence, but just like feeling that restoration. And what comes up for me, and I'm sure you think about it this way too, is like those women just feeling held, like their pelvis just opened and brought life into the world. So like how can we like kind of knit them back together and hold them? Do you find that there's that aspect to it as well?
Totally. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's such a
Mhm.
huge change on the body and not
Yeah.
just that, but like on a physical level, organ positioning is different. There's different fascial pulls. So it's rewarding.
Mm. Oh, I think we're back.
Oh, we're back. Okay.
Had a little cutout moment. Um, yeah, wow. I really have loved hearing about your work and how that shows up. And I'm also curious at this point in your life, like what is your relationship to your womb, to your periods, to your pelvis? Like what is that like in a day-to-day basis or a cycle-to-cycle basis for you?
I would say it's every day is a journey. But like, we're always a work in progress. So I think I'm continuing on my path of um just being more comfortable, I think, in my skin. I think like having being sick so young, like
Mm,
shaped a lot of, I think, my comfort in my own body. And it
yeah.
actually wasn't until, I think it wasn't until actually I was introduced to Anthony's wife, Des, and I did a session with her a couple years ago. I actually didn't even know about the phases of the cycle till like a couple
Wow.
of years ago. And so for me, like day to day, it's like honestly just trying to honor how I feel and not always feel like I need to push and be in like
Mm.
that follicular
Yeah.
energy all the time because sometimes, I mean, even today, I'm in luteal, but sometimes I feel like I don't maybe give myself enough permission to like rest when my body maybe needs rest or like listen to myself because I do feel so much better that I feel like I can push through and do all
Oh
the
my
things
gosh,
at
yeah.
24/7. So I think my day-to-day relationship is like building trust back with my body and like really genuinely trying to listen when I need rest or listen when I feel like I can go and push and
Yeah.
being more in tune with what I'm feeling. And
Mm.
every day is a journey. Some days are good, some days I'm like full steam ahead and luteal.
I
Like
know.
literally that just
I'm like, girl, let me know if you figured that one out because I could use that secret.
no, I know. It's like my friend Sam, who you would love. She's always like just like encouraging, rest on the period and like there's some days where I'm like I think I hear her voice like just sit down, just sit down, just rest because sometimes like we know what to do. Like I know the things to do but it's just the listening and like giving myself that permission
Yeah.
is really it's an ongoing journey, but I think every day I get a little bit better at it. So,
Yeah, and that's all we can do, right? And
yeah.
it's kind of like I'm sure you see this in your work too, but it's like if we don't give our body that reset, which I really see, and this is kind of like how I started my work in the beginning was like just talking about resting on your period. That was like kind of my end to all of this was like really honoring my period. And what I found is like when you don't give your body that rest opportunity on your period, like something will come up that makes you rest, whether it's like a hormonal challenge, the period going missing, pelvic pain, like these things like our body can only go so much. But I think I really relate to what you're talking about because I love to rest on my period, but it's almost
Yeah.
like outside of those like 4 or 5 days. I'm just like in constant output mode if I don't
Yeah.
remember to like titrate and slow down, especially in luteal. Because yeah, like being a woman and like having the creative power to like do so much, like our wombs are like these creative centers, and also being someone like how you and I are, like an entrepreneur of sorts, it's like it's hard to slow down sometimes.
Totally, totally. And I do think you're right. Like it's like when we just keep I think when we keep pushing, that's when things can go sideways a little bit. And I think
Yeah.
it's a good reminder that listening is so important. And our body really does have a lot of the answers.
Yeah.
And I'm like really, really grateful that we can tap into that whenever we want. It just
Mm,
the listening, the sitting down and for myself, the sitting down and listening and trusting
yeah.
it is it's a process and but I'm learning every day.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a constant learning. And also
Yeah,
I think about how, it's sometimes the things that manifest in our bodies are really our bodies looking out for us and like asking us to slow down and like giving us that permission, like when I have a sort of lethargic day now, instead of catastrophizing it and being like, what's going on with my health? I'm like, oh, okay. Like this is a sign. This is a sign that like some part of me isn't feeling nourished enough. And I think it's cool to be able to look at the body in that way instead of the body doing something wrong, but instead the body always communicating with us.
totally. And I think I have to come back to this segment. Like when I like forget and I'm just like, why am I so tired? Like what's going on, But like when we do tap into it, it's so important. And I think it just honestly, like until I knew about the cycle and how like we have different energy in different parts of our cycle, like I just like think I would just shame myself. Like,
Mm,
why am I like exhausted right now? Like I didn't know, 'cause first of all, I wasn't tracking it, but I just had no idea. And then I think like now I realize, wait, like we are so different than men. Like, and I've
so
just spent most of my life like comparing myself to the men's, hormones, which are, I think, what I understand, relatively stable compared to
day to
us.
day. Yeah.
So I think just knowing that has like given myself way more permission to just tune into what my body is feeling like on a
Yeah.
day-to-day basis.
Oh, I love that so much.
So
Yeah,
good.
Stacey, I'm curious, what else, is there anything else you want to share about your story or your work that I haven't asked you?
Um, that's a good question. Let me think for a second. I'm like,
Yeah, take your
I feel like
time.
you asked such good questions. I'm like my gears are going.
Yeah, well, you're allowed to take as long as you need.
I'm just thinking like if there's anything else. No, I feel like we covered like a good bit of, I mean, it feels good to me, unless there's anything like you are curious about or any like questions you have.
Yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed talking to you. I feel like I've learned so much. I'm also really deeply inspired by your story and like still kind of mind blown at how you're showing up for people in this like really
Um,
holistic, special way.
oh, thank you. I feel like honestly so inspired by your story, like just knowing that
Aw.
you had that similar journey and such a similar age too,
Yeah,
like on that soul sister level.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's a very unique it's a very unique path. And
Mm,
I think it for me it has shaped a lot of who I am. And I think my next step, obviously, like in like my journey and I think probably marketing too, is like being more comfortable sharing that story and
yeah.
talking about it. Like I think this podcast really did open something up for me that, oh, I
Mm.
really do have a lot to share as far as how my story has shaped how I've gotten here. So I just, yeah, really want to honor you and thank you for having me because I've been maybe scared for a little while to,
Mm.
post on my social media about like really go into, what my journey was in my younger years. And I think just having me in this space like felt so comfortable sharing. And I really hope that at least if it helps one person listening, like I really would be so grateful.
Well, I will tell you that it definitely will help at least one person. I would say almost every time I have someone on this podcast, the show gets a comment or the Instagram post gets a comment or I get a DM about like, wow, I really related specifically to what, whoever was on said. And that's like a big purpose of mine with this podcast is I shared this with you before recording, but the first intention is to hold you and to hold whoever's on this show and their story And I mean, I got like, I don't know, it made me kind of emotional hearing that this opened up a new thing for you about sharing your story and it's supporting you because that is a big intention of mine. And women seeing how their story is like their own personal myth and how much their story gets to support other women. And then what happens is I'm holding that space for you. And because I'm doing that, you get to share your story in a way that gets to then ripple out to like however many women, hundreds of women who are going to listen. And I think that's like all the best we can hope to do, you know?
Yeah, I have chills, so thank you. And you did such a good job. I felt that intention the whole time. Like truly super grateful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, I'm curious if there is any like little piece I like to ask women at the end of the show, any little piece of what I call womb wisdom that wants to come through for you to leave the women listening, like one little nugget if you had to pick one.
Oh, so many good
Yeah,
ones.
I know, right?
Like, uh, I feel like what's coming to me is like she has all the answers that we need.
Mm,
Yeah. And like even if it's just all we do is like just touch that area of our body with like the highest love and honor
mm,
and respect, like that alone can do so much and bring forth so much of the wisdom that we already have. Like nobody needs a healer. Like we all are our own healer.
yeah. Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah.
So good. Okay, Stacey, this has been so absolutely wonderful, and
I
I'm so
know.
like shout out to Anthony. This is
I know. I was
amazing.
gonna say
I'm
he
gonna
was just
text
like,
him
you need to
after
meet
this.
this. He's like, you need to meet Natalie. You guys will click.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just he was such a good person also to help me because he helped me also share some of my story in my email course, and
Aw.
I think because of him being in this work through Des and knowing you, it was so nice to work with a
Aw.
man who's comfortable
In
talking
these
about the
realms.
womb, you know?
Yeah, totally. Oh, I
So,
love that. Well, I would love to give you an opportunity, like if women are listening and they're like, I want to know more, maybe they're in LA and they want to work with you, like what are you offering? Where can people find you?
yeah, so I would say go to my website is still not fully updated to talking about my pelvic work. So I would go to pelvicmap.com and it's just a landing page and you can put your email in and it will get you on my email list and give you some really good email education about what I do. And there's also an opportunity to kind of book if you are in LA and want to. So pelvicpainroadmap.com and my Instagram too is a good resource. It's just my first and last name, Stacy Stern underscore PT. That's my Instagram, two ways to get a hold of me.
Perfect. Yeah. Email course sounds epic. I think a lot of women could really benefit from that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Stacey. This was so great. I have so enjoyed this, and I'm really excited to continue connecting and maybe see you when I come down to LA
Yes, I
too.
would absolutely love that. Thank you so much for having me, Natalie.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in to the wisdom of the womb today. It's truly such an honor to bring these stories and teachings forward to you, and it would mean so much to me if you'd rate and review this podcast so that it can reach more women. If you're looking for deeper support, you can always find the link to join our online community, the Cyclical Living Circle with the best women in the world, in the show notes. And you'll also find the links to book one-on-one virtual sessions for your specific needs, as well as any workshops or courses I'm currently offering. Plus, you can follow me on Instagram, and I love to connect with you all there. All right, see you next week.